Hello. It is Thursday and super excited to be here with you. I'm a little under the weather, so after this, on my way to the doctor. Fun, fun, fun. We love this winter time when you tend to get sick and things happen. And anyway, our snow is melting here, but it's still cold. And those that know me know that, I definitely hibernate during the winter. So the fact that I have to leave after this to go to the doctor is really quite a bummer. So as we wait for people to pop on, I want you to drop down into the comments and just say hi and tell me where you are joining me from. So hopefully you guys have had a chance to watch the past lives that I've done over the past week and a half. And if not, they're right there for you on Facebook or YouTube, so you guys can check those out. I have two screens, so if you see me looking over here, that's where all the comments go. So make sure that you say, hey, I'm joining from wherever you're joining from. So over the past week and a half, we've talked a lot about, our biggest hurdle. Typically it is knowing what to quilt where on your quilt. So, there are many reasons why we tend to get stuck in those spaces. So today we're going to talk about breaking free from analysis paralysis. And first of all, let me switch over. Hi, Vicky. Hi, Savannah. Hi, Lenore. Good to see you guys. So we're going to hop right in. So let me just move some stuff around here. I see familiar names. I see some names that I have not seen before, so I love that too. All right, so let me switch to the slides so you guys can see that. Okay, so we are going to learn how to break free from our analysis paralysis, and this is going to really help us embrace our quilting journey. And all of our journeys are very different, so they're very unique to you. So how do we overcome this analysis paralysis and learn how to embrace our journey? So first off, I think we do need to define it, okay? So, not okay. Let's see. It doesn't seem to, there we go. So what is analysis paralysis and what does it look like? So analysis paralysis is actually the state of overthinking a situation to the point where a decision or action is never taken. This typically happens when someone is overwhelmed by their options, uncertain about the best choice, or excessively concerned about potential negative outcomes. So the result is inaction or significant delays in making decisions, which can hinder progress or productivity. So I want you to hop over into the comments and tell me, does this at all sound familiar? Because I can tell you 100%, totally familiar to me. So again, it's that overabundance of information. We're bombarded with too many options, and we find that it's difficult to choose a course of action. We are terrified of making the wrong decision. This leads to us hesitating and avoidance. And it's funny, Savannah, because Savannah says, hold on, let me pop on over here, that this is why we have stacks of quilts to be quilted. 100%, you are absolutely right, Savannah. We do tend, when we finish piecing our project, if we don't know how we're going to quilt that, it ends up in our UFO pile, which is not where we want our stuff to land, right? We want to finish our projects so that we can move on with a clear head into a new one. So, okay, let me go back over here. Perfectionism. We have a desire to find the perfect design, right? And when we don't think we have that perfect design, we will delay making any decision at all. This is one that really hits home for me. I really do sometimes lean heavily into that perfection thing for me, my own quilts. Meanwhile, I tell you all to not worry about being perfect, and not being perfect is okay. And I think the more that I say it to you, the more I believe it for myself. So if you find yourself, in that perfectionism category, you're definitely not alone. We also constantly question our choices, right? Or we're like, those what ifs prevent us from committing to a particular design. So again, it's like that could look like we've started quilting, and we're looking at our designs that we're putting on the quilt, and then we stop and we're like, oh, maybe that's not the best thing for it, and you start second guessing your own what you already started, right? So that's also a huge huge. I hear that a lot from people. I actually also have had students tell me that they'll start quilting, they won't like what they've quilted, or they get to that where they're second guessing themselves. They remove the quilt from the machine, or move it out from under your needle, and they just put it off into the corner. So now they've got a half quilted UFO, which for me, that's worse than just having a UFO. I feel like you've already, you've committed, you've got it going, just keep on keeping on. So I would say keep on quilting it. Don't second guess yourself in the middle of your quilt. So if you're feeling stuck, you are definitely not alone. One of the things that I know people do is they will scroll through social media looking for ideas, which can lead to having too many ideas, too many options, right? So that endless scrolling sometimes is not the best thing for us, although it is pretty fun to do, but you can definitely get lost in that. So give me a heck yeah if you're one of those endless scrollers. And actually, while you're at it, why don't you tell me where you scroll? Are you an Instagram? Are you a Pinterest? Are you a Facebook person? Are you even a TikTok person? So leave that in the comments, because I would love to know. So we can also feel stuck when the scope of our project seems out of reach, right? Whether it be you're looking at the quilt and there's a ton of open space and you're worried that your skill is really large, or maybe you spend a ton of time and money on making it and worried that you can't do it justice. So those are all very, very real things. Now, one reason to stay away from the endless scrolling is the constant comparison of yourself to those perfect posts. I want you to remember that people are only posting the best of the best. They have the exact same struggles that you do. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I have that issue where if I'm scrolling through social media and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. I wish I did that. I have that same thing where I'll compare myself to those perfect posts. And then I do have to remember, okay, they're only posting the best of the best. Keep your head down and keep on your own journey. So remember now, if you guys have any questions for me, just put a Q in front of them. I'll scroll back through all of the comments when I'm done here. So just so you know, yes, I have been there 2, right? Stuck in a rut and you can't see a way out. And I'm going to tell you, it is normal to feel stuck every now and then. And sometimes we actually get stuck for a while. So I know that I've told you the story about my quilt, Oh My Bleeding Heart. It's the one that sat in my UFO pile for almost a year. And I didn't do it. I didn't finish it, right? Not because I didn't know what I was going to quilt on it. Because believe me, if you know me, I had my quilting plan all drawn out. I knew exactly what I was putting in every spot on that quilt. And it wasn't that I was second guessing myself. Like I knew that that was what I wanted to do. But I was still afraid to start it because I spent 4 years piecing it. And I was afraid that I was going to ruin it. So here I have my beautiful quilt. I have my quilt plan. I know exactly. I know I can execute everything on my quilt plan, but I was still afraid I was going to ruin it. So you are not alone on your quilting journey. And I think until now, I've just recently realized the importance of having your community. And I've only realized this with the addition of the sew-ins that we have for the Design Society. So for you Design Society people that are on here, I want you to know what a huge difference you have made in my life. I was stuck for 5 years and I am now in my studio every day piecing. Even when I'm not on the sew-in with you, I am down there every day doing something. So I can't stress enough to find your people, whether it is virtual like we have with the Design Society, whether it's your guild, but you must find your peeps. And just so you know, I am here to help as best I can. Okay, so we can always find a way forward together. So again, help if I can. So step 1, right? So how are we going to break free from this analysis paralysis, this overwhelming sense that actually paralyzes us? You start small. So this could mean starting with small projects, but just like we talked about the other day, it also means just making those small decisions to move yourself or the project forward. So what does that look like, right? Pick your batting and cut it. Make your binding. Choose your thread. These things help propel you one step closer to finishing your project, because they're all things that you need to do in order to finish your project, right? So it's super important. And it's funny because Karen, one of the members of the society, was the one who suggested the sew-ins. And I was like, sure, sounds like a great idea. And I just didn't even realize how much of a fantastic idea that was, because it has gotten me back into the studio. So the second thing is I want you to create your quilting plan. And I'm going to tell you, most quilters just don't understand how important a plan actually is, right? It would be like starting to piece your quilt and not having any parameters at all. You need to know what you're going to quilt and where you're going to quilt it. Is it in your skill level, or is it a little bit of a stretch for you? Now, there's nothing wrong with having it be a little bit of a stretch, because that's what helps us grow, okay? But just make sure you have a plan for that quilt. So even if we go back to making those small decisions, do you know what I mean? We can make our plan, draw it out, and if you're not ready to quilt it at that time, at least put your plan with your quilt. so that when you go, you're like, oh, okay, now I know what I was going to quilt. Now, that's not to say that you're not going to maybe rework your plan if you've learned new techniques or it's been a while and you want to try something new, but at least you have a starting point. Okay, so that's super, super important. Okay, the last thing you need to do, you need to trust your instinct. You have to trust your instincts and just start creating. And only you know what you like and what you don't like. You have to trust that and just get to it. I know it sounds easier said than done sometimes, but it goes back to what we just talked about second guessing. Do not second guess yourself. If something looks good to you, go for it. Remember, you aren't creating these for other people with other people in mind. Like, never create a quilt with judges in mind. Okay? That is a recipe for disaster. You need to create things that you love, that you like. Leave me in the comments, how many of you have started a quilt that is not in a colorway that you like, and you've struggled through the entire process because they're not your colors or they're not fabrics that maybe you absolutely love? Does that stop you? Does that make it harder for you? Because I know for me, like if I'm doing quilts and I'm like, oh, well, it's okay, the colors are okay, I'm not loving it, I really struggle to get through it. And I'm hoping that I am not alone in that. So the second step is making it personal. We all know quilting is very personal. It's an art form. And each one of us is on our own unique and beautiful journey. So when we are trying to decide what to quilt on a top, we often seek the advice of others. And this is great, but we need to seek designs that actually match our individual skill levels. And this is different for everyone. Not only skill level, but I'm a huge feather person. Like, I love feathers. I would put feathers on everything. But there's some people that don't like feathers. So if somebody comes to me and is like, hey, what would you quilt on this? And I'm like, oh, I would put feathers here and I put feathers there. And they're like, oh gosh, well, I don't like feathers. So again, you have to make sure that you're seeking your advice from the correct people. You want to explore diverse styles of quilting. So the two that came to mind right away is Judy Matson, right? She has a very distinct and beautiful style. And then Carly Porter, right? They have completely different styles. And I love both of them. But so if you're stuck, try something new, okay? As you're exploring all of these new things, let your personal preference guide you, right? And that circles right on back to trusting your instincts. So you might look at Judy or Carly's quilting and be like, oh, I don't like that, or I don't like that. And that's okay, right? So you're not going to do a deep dive into their quilting style if that's something that you personally don't like. Okay, so make sure that you're letting your preferences guide you. Step 3. So this is about embracing your journey. And I can't tell you how extremely important it is to celebrate your progress, even if it is super small. Now, the people on that are members of society will remember this, but I was piecing backing, and I really don't like to piece backing fabrics together, but I also don't like wide backs. So there's my conundrum. But anyway, once it was done and on my machine, it was so nice and square. I celebrated, and I'm sure you guys were like, "Oh, okay, Lisa, your backing was nice and square, it laid flat." But the reality is, whether it was perfect or not, I would have celebrated it because it's bringing me one step closer to quilting that quilt top. So I'm sure some of you do think that it might be a little bit silly to celebrate that, but I'm going to tell you, it sure felt good to me, and it sure felt good to me to say it to my quilting peeps and have them be excited for me as well. Okay. So the next thing is I want you to focus on your own growth. I don't want you to worry about others' so-called perfection, because comparison can really discourage creativity. And remembering that even the experienced quilters start as beginners, right? We're all starting in the same place. So I want you to enjoy your journey. So lastly, what I want you to do is I want you to pick a UFO, and then I want to like pick that one thing that's going to move you forward on that UFO. Okay, whether it be you've picked a thread, you've picked your batting, you've done your quilting plan, whatever the case may be. Okay, and then I want you to post a picture of your project on this Facebook page, so that we can all, right? We can all help each other make progress on our UFOs. All right, so we have all of the ideas to break free from this analysis paralysis. Remember, we're going to start small. We're going to find our personal inspiration. We're going to avoid comparison. Okay, we're going to pick our UFO. So I'm really hoping that I see a ton of pictures of UFOs on my Facebook page, and that you guys have moved that one step closer to finishing it. I'm personally super excited. I finished my oldest UFO this year, so that was a huge celebration for me. So I want us to move past our indecision, enjoy the process, and celebrate all of our progress, no matter how small it actually is. Okay? So I want to welcome you. I am launching a free webinar. It's called UFOs to OMGs, the 3 steps that you need. So you're going to learn the secret to coming up with a design plan, because we've been talking about design plans for the past 2 weeks. So give me an I'm in the comments if this sounds like something that you are interested in viewing. If you are on my mailing list, you will receive the email invite with the link tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And then I'll also post the link here on my Facebook page, and underneath the video in YouTube, so that you guys can register for that webinar. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions at all. I really do want to help you move forward in your quilting journey, wherever you are in your quilting journey. So let me just come back to, oops, hold please. Seem to be having some mouse issues. Okay, so, oh gosh, there's that sun again. Goodness gracious. Let me look through the comments to see if you guys had any questions. That sun, oh boy, I've got to find my new spot. Okay. Doesn't look like we have a ton of questions. Linda says, I finished one and hate my feathers in the background. It's been done for years, and I keep saying, what, girlfriend? No, you are not going to take it out and redo it. You are not doing that. You're not doing that. How many projects do you have right now in the works, right? So think about that. Do you really want to go back and revisit something that you've already completed? I personally say no, move forward. That's my vote. Okay, so Lenore says Pinterest and YouTube. Yep. So Karen seems to always change her plan as she quilts. That's fine, just as long as you've got a plan to start with. You can deviate from it. That is not a problem. Let's see. You just never know. Yeah. Savannah says you just never know what it is that will get you back into the creative mindset. Correct. That is so true. And again, I cannot thank you ladies from society enough. These sew-ins have been really, really instrumental in getting me back into my studio. So very, very appreciative of that. Yep. So Karen says if you don't feel like you're ready to quilt it, think about using matching threads, right? So matching threads don't scream at you on your pieces. So try not to use those contrasting threads if you're like, maybe I'm not quite up to this. Definitely matching threads help. So I also struggle with quilts not in my colorway. Yay, Lynn! I'm so glad I'm not the only one. Finding the time to quilt. I hear you, Deborah. I hear you. So Linda says she did one in, hold on, oranges, rust browns, and yellows, and she likes blues, greens, aquas. It was tough to quilt. Yeah. So I mean, if we're not working with something that we love, it definitely makes it harder. It's one of the funny things, and I tell this story often. So give me a couple seconds, and I'll give you the short version of it. My sister-in-law, way back when I started quilting 20 plus years ago, wanted me to make her a quilt, and I said, "Great, I'll get to it." And she was like, "Well, I need to pick the pattern, I need to pick the fabric, the colors, all of that." And I'm like, "No, you don't understand how this gift giving works. I make a quilt and I gift it to you." And I do it in colors and stuff that I think you're going to like. And, and that is how this works. So needless to say, she does not have a quilt to this day because I don't do commission quilts. Now she could have said, "I'm going to pay you to make a quilt." And I would have been like, "Okay, then you can pick your fabric and your colors." But I cannot work with fabric or colors that I do not like. It just does not work for me. So Janet, I love that. She celebrates each and every step of a quilt. That is so, so important. So I've got a lot of I'm ins. I love that. Excellent. Janet says, "Oh, you're sweet." Janet says the sew-ins are worth the monthly membership price on its own. Considering that the monthly membership price is only $9.97 a month, $9.97 a month, I completely agree with you. But there's so much more value that you also get in that group. So, you love the top and it took a long. So Linda, we're going back to that top. She loves the top and it took a long time. I want to like it completely. Then I'd say go for it. There's your answer right there. Go for it. So, all right, everybody, I am going to say goodbye. I'm going to be off to the doctor, and hopefully I will be feeling better soon. Look for the email tomorrow. I'm going to send it out, I think probably Brody gets his wisdom teeth out tomorrow, so it might be closer to like maybe noon Eastern time. But yeah, so if you have any questions, Lynn, do you have 2 different membership clubs? No, Lynn, I only have the one membership. That is the Creative Design Society. That's $9.97 a month. What I'm sending you is more towards my signature course, which is a design course where I teach you how to look at your quilt in a certain way and design for that particular quilt. So that's what that is. All right, so watch your emails tomorrow. If you don't get it, check your junk folder because sometimes it lands there. And I will see you all later. Oh, and for those in the society, we have a sew-in tomorrow night from 5 to 8. So I will see you guys then. All right. See you guys. Have a great day.